Here.
Vice Mayor Jablonski,
Here.
Councilmember Hartman,
Here.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
All right, thank you. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all for coming out for this special meeting to discuss District 3's vacancy. What I think I'm going to do is hand this over to Russell and let you make the introductions or explain. Actually, should we let Keith explain first?
Yeah, I think that's what
All
we
right,
want
so
to do.
I'm going to let
Mayor.
Keith take it over and explain.
I'll be brief. As everyone is aware, Council Member Fisickelli resigned shortly before he passed. Under the town's charter, it stated that if there was more than a year left on his council term, it would have to go to a special election of the electorate. As a result of that charter provision, we reached out to the supervisor of elections and told them we needed to have an election within, I think it required 60 days, of Council Member Fisickelli's resignation. The supervisor of elections stated that they could not fulfill the town's request, that they were in the middle of updating the voter rolls, and as a result, they could not have an election within the time frame prescribed by our charter. As a result of that, I reached out to the Florida Attorney General, and I said, you know, we're in a little bit of a quandary now because the supervisor of elections not doing its job, and our charter says that we cannot appoint a replacement unless it was within a year of the term, the year being after November 4th, I think is the date. So as a result of that, the Attorney General's office, through an Assistant Attorney General, said, listen, the Florida courts are clear, and we verified that the courts favor filling a vacancy rather than leaving a vacancy vacant. And as such, they believed that we were on very firm ground to appoint a successor. The appointment of a successor was even on firmer ground if it could be done following that November time period, which would mean that it would be within the 1 year replacement period. So as a result of that, we're now in a situation where the town council really has two options, and that is option A, the appointment. Option B would be an election in March. Today's meeting is to try to determine if you all can find consensus or a majority to appoint the successor to the town council, and again uphold both the charter requirements and the Attorney General's edict that we would rather have that position filled sooner than later. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer, but if not, you have several good candidates for this position, and it's up to you to debate and figure out if you can find one that you feel would fit the position.
Okay, thank you, Keith, very much. Appreciate it. Russell?
So, Mayor, what we'll do at this time is we'll introduce each of the candidates. We'll ask them to come up, and they'll have up to 3 minutes to give their qualifications and give a little bit about their background. So the first candidate up will be James Albritton. Yeah, by last name. We're calling the names up by last name in alphabetical order. So Jim Albritton.
You
Yes.
can. Don't mind.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Albritton. I applied for the vacant seat when I heard that Freddie passed away. I've lived in Green Meadow since 1985. I come out here, put a trailer on the property. It took me 3 years to build a house, and I built it myself. Very proud of what I did. I come out here and actually bought the property in the early 70s. I paid Masana for it, a little bit at a time. I think the property was somewhere around $12,000 in 1972, 73. That was a lot of money. And I finally paid it off, was able to buy a house trailer, and I'm there today wife and I, we got kids, we raised them there. I recently retired. I got involved with the planning board. I got involved with the drainage board a little bit. Just got appointed to the fire assessment board here in the town, and this town means a lot to me. Like I said, I watched the kids grow up here, and I'd like to see the town remain a rural area if at all possible. And you know, I just thought that maybe I'd fill Freddie's seat. If there's an election in March, then there'll be another election come November. And, you know, I thought I'd fill Freddie's seat and then beat the doors to find a good qualified candidate that probably would win the election in November or so. But I thank you for your time, and council, I'm sorry for turning my back to you, but I appreciate your consideration and stuff. And I'll turn it over to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albritton. Next candidate up is Delsa Amundson. Delsa, would you please come forward?
Grab the mic, dear.
Oh my God.
You can take it down from there.
I'm telling you, I don't
Just
know.
take it out of there.
Yeah, you sure? I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not all that great with it.
No worries.
No. Do you mind if I'm talking to them? Okay. All right. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. I'll just give you a little bit about my background. I was a flight attendant with National and Pan Am, 25 plus years. During that time, I was the head of the grievance committee. I put on active arbitrations for flight attendants. I was president of the flight attendant union for 6 years, negotiated contracts with some of the best labor lawyers, and never went on strike, gotta say. And I've been selling real estate now for 25 years. Some of you know me from Publix because I took a part-time job there about 12 years ago. I'm not there anymore, and enjoyed that. My husband was the second Green Meadows president, Civic Association, and we fought the I-75, but we couldn't beat Governor Graham. And then we also bumped the dump, tried. We also got involved very deeply within trying to form our own city. My husband was one of the first volunteer fire department people, firefighters. That's when Bill Lewis off of Hancock had the truck there, Charlie Tona, a bunch of people that I know, miss. And we had a lot of meetings, Southwest ranches, and we wanted to become our own city. So we fought Broward County, tooth and nail. And after giving a little bit of a spiel one time, one of the commissioners looked at me and she said, "You're selfish." So I looked at that commissioner, and I said, "We're selfish because we want to tax ourselves for the privilege of living on our own properties and running our own city?" And the answer was yes. However, that particular commissioner now lives in our town. We won. And then, let me see. I'm trying to see here. We love our town. My husband and I, we had 3 children, boys. 2 of them, both are firefighters. Lost one in a drowning accident when he was 3. But I've lived here since 1970. We built our house. Mr. Massana was nice enough to take our plans and build our house in the middle of 122 vacant acres. And we love it here. We want to stay. And so if you are willing, I am willing. And Freddie was a great guy. I'm not taking his place, I wouldn't presume. But I would like to help represent. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amundson.
Okay.
Our next applicant is Mary Gay Chapels. Mary Gay, would you step forward?
Okay, I don't know where to begin. I
I
started
think the mic
here.
got turned off.
I don't know.
So,
There you go. Try it.
It's on.
Try it. Try it.
speak right into it. Let me have it, please.
Bring it over to Russell.
Let me put a new battery, fresh battery.
Just check it.
We always seem to have a bad mic.
It's funny, isn't it?
Let the record put a fresh battery just in case. Let the record reflect. It was working.
We need a Mr. Microphone.
Yep. Okay. Always set. Okay.
Hello?
There you go.
Ah, there we
We
go.
hear you.
Okay, I've lived here over 50 years on the same street, Sterling and Dykes Road.
Get her
I
timer
have
fixed.
fought
We did.
battles.
We did.
Okay, well, it doesn't show on mine.
You're taking up my time.
I'm trying to give you more time that you deserve from the start, so.
Anyway, I fought everything from soup to nuts with the two residents that lived out there on Dykes Road, Morris Dykes and the Hopkins. And we were at the county so much fighting to stop one thing after another that they wanted to throw out here, from not affordable housing, the homeless, to the last go round when they put in I-75, they wanted to put up storage facilities on Dykes Road. So we've had a battle, one after another. And we would go to the county, and we became so familiar with everybody. Eventually, when we became a town, I did not get involved until after they first started with putting it together. And then I got involved. When Pembroke Pines tried to take us, I was there. After that, I joined the town boards. I've been chair of the Parks Board since the beginning. I sat on the Drainage Board until recently. I started the Historical Society for the town with Keith's father. I also sit on the Astronite Foundation, and that's about it, other than I spend a lot
Plan.
of time here, nowhere else. I also try to help everybody. I'm not going to run for this office, have no intentions of running. I would like to just serve his term out for Freddie's term, which is about a year. I'm 82 years old. I don't have any intention of running for this kind of an office for 5 years. That's insane. And so I think I can make it a year. I am with mixed motions, I will tell you that. I sit on the comprehensive plan, and I would have to give that up. I would have to give up all the boards I sit on. And that bothers me, but I'm willing to do it because it's only a year. So with that, I leave you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chapels. The next applicant is Omaida Delgado.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name's Omaida, and I applied because since I was a child and moved here to Florida, I visited one time Southwest Ranches, and I fell in love with it, and I always wanted to make it my home. I made it my home 13 years ago, and I am super proud to be a resident of this town. I love the rural nature. I hope to continue, and that's one of the reasons I applied, is because I want to make sure that the rural nature of this town continues. And I do hope to run. So unlike my other colleagues who are here who have presented tonight and don't intend to, I do want to do that. I had wanted to do that a while back. I just did not have the opportunity to apply for that. I have been a business owner for the past 27 years. I manage a trucking company. So I'm used to dealing with employees, dealing with customers, negotiating contracts with vendors, do accounts receivable, accounts payable. I do taxes. I do the taxes for the corporation. I've even done taxes for other individuals, even aliens that come here and have businesses. I'm an attorney, and I've been an attorney since 2011 now. I have my own law office. I think I can assist the council and with legal matters and maybe interpretation or research. I believe that I can help and explain maybe questions of law if there's no other council that is an attorney on the council. So I hope that you guys consider me and give me an opportunity to be able to help serve this wonderful town that I love, and that I'm growing my children here. I have a daughter who's here in the audience today. And a little bit shy, so don't see her. But my son also has grown up here. He went to Hawks Bluff, and he's now attending Nova. So I hope that I can continue to create a rural town nature for my children, and that they have an opportunity to enjoy this town as much as I have for the past 13 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. The next applicant is Yardiel Fuentes. If you would please come forward.
Hello.
Mr.
probably
Fuentes, before you start, just because I have a note by your name, and just so the council, you do not presently live in the district, correct?
Right, I'm District 2.
Okay.
And just. Oh, okay. It's okay. So, yeah, no, when I saw the vacancy, I was interested in applying for it because I love this town. I've been here since 2003. I know Mary Gate for a long time. I don't interact too much because my company takes me everywhere. I'm an engineer registered in Florida. I spend a lot of time in technologies, working with companies all over the country and in the world too. But now I want to stick around here. I want to spend more time around the town. So, but when I saw the vacancy and I said nobody's going to fill it, I said, oh, gee, that's bad. I need to fill it out. But there are so many good candidates here that I feel like I don't really need to. So, but I would be glad to assist the town in anything that has to do with engineering, advisory boards. I talked to the engineer in town here, Mr. Lee, I think. Offer him whenever he needs anything from advisory boards or anything like that, I'll be glad to be. I'm in Rolling Oaks, and I spend my time just a lot in front of computers and talking about designs, talking about all that stuff. So if my trade can help the town, I'll be glad to. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fuentes. The next applicant is Mr. Louis Gregory, who isn't able to be here tonight, Mayor. The next applicant after that is Anna Coldis. Ms. Coldis, would you come?
So, Russell,
Yes.
I met her at the comp plan board meeting the other night, never met her before. She called me the next day, and she let me know that she was having major surgery, I believe, on Tuesday this week. And so far, I've heard from her husband and her sister. Don't know any of these people, but they let me know that the doctors haven't released her from the hospital. She still wants to be considered.
Okay. Mayor, also just for the record, Mr. Gregory's, who couldn't be here tonight, he did send in a letter to everyone, and I did forward that letter. Hopefully you all received it. If there's any questions about that. Okay, so the next applicant that would be here, I believe, is Nicholas Lampariello, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Nicholas Lampariello? No? Okay. The next applicant would be Barry Nunzig. Mr. Nunzig, would you come forward, please?
Good evening. My name is Barry Nunzig. I ran against Freddie 3 years ago, and due to some unfortunate family situations, I really did not campaign very much because my family is more important than sitting on that board. Anyway, here tonight to put in for Freddie's seat. I've been involved with the city. I was on the fire advisory board. I got off the fire advisory board because of the sunshine laws. I wanted to be able to speak to the commissioners, and you can't do it if you're on one of those boards. At least you're not supposed to, so that's why I got off that board. Been out in this town since 1982. As a profession, I was a fireman for 20 years. In fact, I was part of the young men back in the day that brought the paramedic program into Broward County.
That's what I'm doing.
So I'm pretty proud of that. I worked through the ranks from a firefighter to an EMT to a paramedic to a driver engineer to a lieutenant to a captain to a shift commander, which is now called a battalion chief, and also worked as a deputy chief. We have a lot of good things going on in this city. I came out here because I wanted to be away from the congestion of the towns, have some elbow room, let my kids grow up. Actually, where I live, off of Sterling Road, I actually could push my airboat out into the lot next to me when it rained a lot and run my airboat there back in 1991, which was a lot of fun. I think our town is doing well, but as all towns do, you end up making more and more rules and more regulations, and they just get piled one on top of the other, and then they're just not looked at. You know, we have regulations here. If you want to replace the door on your house, you're supposed to come and get a building permit, and the building permit is quite expensive. Why? It doesn't need to be that way. Okay, I was talking to Bob just the other night, and he was telling me about a friend of his that put a set of gates up in front of his yard. It cost him $600 for the permit, and then when he wanted to get electric out to it, it was another $600, if those numbers are right. 400, pardon me. So why? It doesn't need to be. We need to look at these things and ask ourselves, why are we doing this to ourselves? We don't need to do that. And then we have all these high permit fees, so what do people do? They don't get the permits. They just go ahead and they do it illegally. So that's not accomplishing what the city really wants to do, which is to help our citizens stay safe and be in a safe structure. You know, I have old windows in my house because I built my house 25 years ago. I'd love to put hurricane windows in. Problem is, I looked in my pocket, I don't have $40,000. You know? So if I come here and I get a permit, because I can afford to do, what's a hurricane window now, $1,000, depending on the size of the window? Okay, I can do $1,000 here and again, but I got to get a permit every time. What's that going to cost me? Okay, you don't need to do that. We need to do things to work for the citizens. And that's what I would do for you if I get this post. And I will be running at the next election next year.
Thank you, Mr. Nunzig. The next applicant is Dave Reif. Mr. Reif, please step forward. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And, hello, everyone. If you don't mind, I'll address the council. I think they're the ones making the decisions. But anyway, I want to thank you for the privilege of applying for this position. I've been a resident here since 1989 with my wife and son, and he's now grown and gone off to Orlando with bigger things, but not better. And I'm recently retired from Motorola. I was a mechanical engineer with them for 33 years. I'm a registered PE in the state of Florida. I'm retired now, but while I don't expect to be doing engineering for the town, I agree with Mr. Fuentes that I think I have an aptitude for numbers and understanding of plans. And ability to understand technical things. And I have an acre of property behind our house that I have a small palm tree nursery on. So I do all that work myself. I'm a hands-on. I like to get my hands dirty, and I love this town for that possibility to do that. And I think that's one thing, that we're kind of at the nexus of tremendous convenience of opportunities, major arteries, north, south, and east, good shopping proximity, but you can go and you can get away from it all. And I love that about this town, and I want to preserve that. But at the same time, I think the town is transitioning. A lot of new residences are being built. The median residence is probably about $700,000 in this town, and the newer ones are, way above that. So to summarize my priorities for the town, I'm interested in responsible growth. And a couple things on that. Obviously fiscal responsibility and the usual suspects like, fire, police protection, public safety. Also investment in our roads and infrastructure. I think, I'd like to accelerate as much as possible the paving of the roads. I know we have a plan to do that, but I think that's important. But in something that Barry just mentioned about the permitting and red tape, I want to make this town resident friendly. And rolling back restrictions where we don't feel like they don't contribute to safety and stuff, I think is a very welcome thing. I hand it to him for mentioning that. But also the aspect of making the town more pedestrian friendly. I live off 172nd Avenue. Fortunately, I live on 172nd. But that is a major north-south thoroughfare, and I see the high school students from jogging up and down in the street, bicyclists and cars dodging them, and it's a shame that we have tremendous right-of-ways and opportunities to do something in that. And a lot of new development that maybe we could tax with impact fees and stuff like that to make some changes cheaply for us. Anyway, my view. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rife. The next applicant is Alexis Rivero.
How you doing?
Evening.
My name is Alex Rivero. I've lived in the community since 2016. I'm a practicing attorney. I'm self-employed. I've been a civil trial lawyer for close to 15 years. I live in Southwest Ranches with my wife and my 5-year-old son. Being a father for the 5-year-old is a job in itself. But basically, what I like to to discuss is basically that's the reason why we moved into this community. It's its uniqueness. Okay, that this whole rural lifestyle is not what would we be if it wasn't the way it was. I mean, where we can actually sit outside, literally sit outside at night, and we could actually see the stars and the moon. I mean, think about it. I mean, we take that for granted, but we got to maintain that lifestyle, and I'm all for that. Okay, being a resident here for the past 6 years, it's just great living in this community, and just I like to be a part of this board, this council, try to assist the board in if anything, maybe my legal expertise can assist it in any way if there's any legal issues that may arise with ordinances, legislation, what have you. But let's maintain the taxes the way they are. Let's keep the rural lifestyle that exists here. Let's keep it the way it is, and I'm all for being part of this board and hopefully being an asset. And if given the opportunity, I'd be willing to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivero. Our last and final candidate is Andres Vasquez. Mr. Vasquez, did you still want to be included in? Okay. Sure.
Withdraw for ethical considerations with my current employment. However, I'd like to take this moment to thank the board for considering it. I know that it was kind of dicey if we should send out the mailer or not, but I think the $1,000 that was spent was well worth it because we got this participation in our community, and I'm very confident moving forward that the board, if they decide to find someone, that there's someone qualified here and someone that is willing, that's going to make a difference for the year and save us some money without having to do an election moving forward. So, and hopefully we could control no loose cannons or things like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Mayor, that basically rounds out your applicants.
Okay. Well, a couple of discussions we've had over the period of time. Yes, go ahead.
Allow public comment?
Sure. Anybody want to add any additional public comment on this? On any of the applicants, or?
Yeah. Can you come to the mic? Can you come to the mic, please?
Again, Barry Nunzig, Sterling Road, 163rd Avenue. For myself, I think that there's plenty of people in this room that are more than qualified to sit on this board. Any one of them probably be good, so if you guys can do that, I'm all for it. Save the town the money of going through the election and all the process that we'd have to do just to turn around and do it again next November. Thank you.
It's only fair to consider one of the fellows that's not here tonight, and that's Louis Gregory. I found out in the 11th hour that he was a former director of Homeland Security. So I would imagine all the management skills anybody's alluded to, this guy already possesses and has demonstrated to a high level. So I would suggest we might give him a break. Thank you.
Noah Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. I ask that the council only consider those that will protect our rural lifestyle, protect us from additional development that is irresponsible, and take a look at our protecting the horses and animals that live here and those individuals that have expressed those desires. We are a very conscious community as to what we want in our town, and we're homogenous in that. As the original visiting session said so, the election in 2011 survey, which the council put out, verified the original visioning session, and then the protection that was put into our charter in the last election by 70%, that any land development has to have a 5-0 vote, a unanimous vote of the council. I'd like for those that have expressed those desires to be put on the council, and we'll only support those individuals that do. Thank you.
David Sears, 5501 Southwest 130th Avenue. One thing that I think the council needs to understand is take all your personal aspirations aside and think about the candidates themselves and what they've done for the town and how many times they show up to their council meetings, even though sometimes they're a little tiresome. But, you know, we get out of here somewhat early, sometimes not, but think about that. And if you guys can't unanimously agree on an applicant, if we're going to have a special election, we need to do something and add maybe getting rid of the 5-0 vote, because you guys can't really conduct any business right now with what you have. And I don't think a lot of the residents understood what they were voting for, and maybe we should put that out there so they can get a better understanding, because if you guys don't all get along, you guys are never going to be able to do any business. Thank you.
Any additional public comment? Seeing no additional public comment is closed. Back to the council. As we know, or we've learned since a little time has passed, there are elections in March anyway, and the cost to do an election at this point is minuscule. So, you know, if that's where it ends up, I mean, it's not a huge expense by any means. I think a lot of us up here feel that the public should choose who this is going to be. And jump in here if I misspeak on this, but anybody that wants to, you know, we have a lot of good applicants. I mean, there's only 4 of us up here right now to make that call. And I don't know how we're feeling based off of what the residents might want. And if we leave it in the residents' hands, it's their call, not ours. But truly, it is our responsibility to get this job done. So I'm looking for your input here. Gary?
I'll jump in, yeah. Just a couple, since this is first off, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I especially want to thank the people who applied. It was 4 times the number I thought we were going to get, to be real frank, real honest with you. And I was flabbergasted, and I was very happy to see it. And it really speaks volumes about where we live in our community and how much the passion and people care about it. And I got to thinking about what would be the criteria that I would use to pick a colleague, you know. And I came up with a list, and this is just, I'm just going to throw these out here for consideration for everybody. I mean, we talked about it last time that we wanted to make this a unanimous decision, and I clearly support that, or we send it to the elections. But one of the things I wanted to point out was I think it was very important that we choose a person who does not have an agenda, is not looking for some ulterior motive or a stepping stone to other things. I think that's pretty important. It's important because we have land use decisions that may be coming to the council soon, and those votes are very, very critical. and it affects the future of our community for decades. Not just for a year, month, decades. And it could be forever. So I think that is very, very important. And me personally, I'm looking for a person who wants to protect the town and its residents for all future, whether it's police, fire, land use, garbage pickup, whatever it is, that they have the future in mind for our town. And one of the key qualities is they have to have the ability to ask for help in understanding issues and circumstances. And I think this is very key. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't understand this, explain it. Explain it so the general public can understand it and I can understand it before I cast a vote. And I think everybody needs to go into this job with that sort of an understanding. The person who needs to understand that they're here to help the council on a temporary basis. There's going to be an election in November, and I think everybody that, needs to understand that. This is a very temporary job. But I would like to say, just for the record, the job up here, and we take a lot of criticism, from social media, from at the podium, what have you. But I want everybody to understand, this is probably one of the most rewarding jobs you could ever have in your life. When my head hits the pillow some days, it's because I've taken enough Tylenol to make it that far. And on some days, I just sit there and sleep like a baby because I know I did something good for our town. And I have the support of the town to back me up on that. And so I can tell you honestly, this is not a thankless job. This is a very thankful job. It is very rewarding. When you get it right and all your colleagues agree with you, it is the most fantastic feeling you could ever have. Okay, you know you've done something good for a great deal of people. So I just want to mention that. That's a criteria that I use I would use in evaluating somebody like that for that position. So I just wanted to throw all that out there.
Anyone else?
Yeah, a couple things. I kind of have a list of criteria that I'd like you guys to consider as well. When I got the list of the applicants, I decided, you know what? I interview people all the time. It's part of what I've been doing for the last 40 years. And I couldn't see myself serving up here with somebody that all I know is 3 minutes of what they have to say and the paperwork they submitted. To me, we're not representing the residents well if that's all. So I called everybody. And I think I called everybody but Mary Gay, just so she doesn't say, you didn't call me. I've known Mary Gay long enough to know that she's said 100 times, I'd never run for council. And I heard her answer the one question I had for her at the Comp Plan Board meeting, and that was, what's changed? Because I think somebody else asked her the same thing. And the answer was consistent with what she said tonight. That she would just want to fill in for Freddie since the seat is open. So, I've known Mary Gay, I can't remember how long, probably 20 plus years. So that would have been a waste of her time for me to call her to ask her redundant questions. But I did call everybody. And what I found is we had 4 lawyers that submitted applications. I think that's phenomenal. I mean, Keith does a wonderful job, but it'd be nice if somebody challenged him every now and then from the dais. And a lot of city councils around Broward County have, they have attorneys that serve on their city commissions and, of course, at the county level and all that. So, I went around the horn and I got phenomenal responses. I did not hear one person that I would say, no chance. I mean, that person just doesn't get our lifestyle. I asked about rural lifestyle, how people feel about that. I asked a bunch of questions, and those of you who interviewed, hopefully you didn't feel like I was wasting your time. I enjoyed it. I spent a half hour with a few people, and a couple of people I spent quite a bit longer because they were engaging and very interesting. So I really felt like I got to know these folks. the things I'm looking for, the things that I think are important based on the people I know in our town is, of course, we want somebody, I think, as Newell pointed out, somebody who's going to preserve our rural lifestyle. When I campaigned and when I talked to all of you, it was pretty much a very high priority for everybody. Nobody really wants to see our town change dramatically. We all came here for more or less the same reason. You know, we like the lifestyle and we kind of want to be left alone. I also look for somebody who can bring a fresh perspective. You know, I'm constantly challenged by other people that know a lot more than me, and it's good. It's good to bring in new blood, new people that have fresh ideas or ideas from their own profession. You're an IT, it sounded like you're an engineer. That's the world I came out of, and I can understand what you were saying, but when I start talking to the lawyers, it's a whole different world. You know, I'm always learning from the lawyers. I think that we want somebody who is going to take the time and carefully study our issues. Most of the people I talked to, I said, how are you going to get engaged? How are you going to learn about our town? And that's going to be I'm on the council a year now. I've been involved since day one, and I'm constantly learning new things about our town. So that's a challenge, but you've got to look at every one of these issues. You can't come in here with preconceived notions and say, oh, that's the way it needs to be. That's the way I've always wanted it. You've got to be open for change and other people's opinions. Good listener, of course. Want somebody who is available, open, and honest, and respectful to the town staff, to the residents, and to the peers. We have to work together, all of us. You know, the town staff is really an extension of the council, and we need to work closely with them and be able to get along well. We need somebody who can communicate intelligently, articulately, and thoughtfully.
Sure.
Too many big words. And then somebody who will put the law, the code, and the citizens first, regardless of their own personal benefit or bias. I mean, we're here to serve the town, not our own interests. So, thanks for hearing that out. That's what I want to use. Now, Doug, you said something that puzzles me dramatically.
Go ahead.
You said most of us feel that, you know, we ought to wait. I don't know who you've been talking to. You haven't talked to me. I think we need to appoint somebody tonight, and there's a couple of really important reasons. We talked to Ronnie Bergeron over the last 4 months about potential development out on 27. If we don't appoint somebody, he can't get moving on his plans. He can't go forward. And I know he's got a tremendous amount of money, and he's very enthusiastic to start developing out there on 27. If we push, he loses. We've got a ton of residents that want to do things on their property that require quasi-judicial votes that have to come before us. They can't do that unless we choose somebody. Sure, we can wait, but I think we're not living up to our responsibilities if we just push it. I think that's the wrong answer. I think the right thing to do is to select one of the candidates. They're all qualified. So, thank you.
As I said in my last statement, at the end of that, it's our responsibility to do this.
Agree.
So, Dee?
I get to chime in? Well, I agree with Bob. I agree with Gary. I think their perspective on this is very astute. I did not call anybody. I knew there was going to be multiple applications. I wasn't quite sure if this was really the right avenue to take because the people did elect Freddie and elected him and elected him and elected him. And there was a reason why they kept electing him, because he did a good job. He was loved by everybody and respected. And so sometimes you have to do your due diligence, and you got to put your time in and your effort. You got to make it where, you know, you really want this. This is, like Gary said, a very rewarding. It's nothing to sneeze at. It's, you know, I'm honored. I feel extremely privileged to be able to sit here, but I did work hard for it. I think I worked hard for it. I was involved way before we became a town. I was the complainer, the one that Broward County just says, you know, just tell her we're closed today, you know. And my thought process is, I know we need to do this. We only have 4 of us, and Bob is right. We do have a lot of business to attend to, and it needs to get done. But we also have a 5-0 vote. We could have had a lot of stuff done with just a supermajority. That is something that all of you need to consider, and that's something that maybe needs to go on the ballot for the 2020 election in November. Because this election coming up is just a primary, and you won't get the support. The 5-0 has been crippling us for a long time. And it's not good. It's not good for the town. We can't be productive. We can't do what we need to do. And as was stated, we have to work together as a team. And I just feel that this particular would be best left for an election to let the people decide who they would like. Just like we've done for Bob, myself, the mayor, the vice mayor, and Freddie. And past council member Steve Braycruz, I see you sitting out there, was elected how many times? Not because they just had a vacant seat, because they liked his work, they liked what he did, and they kept putting him back in there. So I just, like I said, my thought process is to go to March. It's not expensive. We just spent $1,000 to put a mailer out so that everybody could see this. So that's kind of where I stand right now. I would like to see it go to the election and let the people vote.
Can I just throw something in, Mayor?
Go ahead.
I don't know how the 5-0 vote has crippled us. We haven't not passed anything yet because it didn't get 5-0 votes. So just to correct the record on that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to comment on that. It could happen where we wouldn't. There could be a personal agenda. It could be where your opinion and my opinion are completely different, and I wouldn't want to pass something like that. I'm just throwing that out there. I think the people were misled, and they did not understand what that 5-0 meant. That's my opinion.
Listen, the dilemma on the 5-0 is one person controls the council on an issue. That's my opinion. I don't think it should be that way, but here and
Whatever.
there. We have it, it's there. So let's get back to business for a minute. So under the circumstances, we talked about being in a united front last time. I would tell you, let's get back to reality, and 3 out of 4 makes it happen.
Oh.
You don't like the unanimous part?
I don't, well, Dee clearly made a statement tonight that her opinion, and I don't fault her for it by any means, that let the election happen and let the residents pick someone. So
this is why I wanted to have a vote on it, because I saw this happening in advance. I'd rather stick with all 4 of us agreeing.
But I'm just trying to be very transparent and tell you exactly how I feel. And I feel the residents have the right to pick and choose who's going to represent them.
How do you feel about Doug not having any opposition in the last election? Nobody ran against him, so the town didn't choose Doug. Doug is in.
Nobody ran against Gary either. You know, Bob, I don't want to sit up here and argue in front of the people. I made a statement, and it's very obvious you're not comfortable with it, but I am entitled to make a statement. I feel it should go to the election.
It's fine.
Fine.
okay, so anyway, the reality is we have the ability to make this happen with a 3-1 vote. You all want to be a united front. If you want to be a united front, and Dee's got her position, it goes to a vote. So, what do you gentlemen want to do?
I still think we should be unanimous in our decision.
All right, well, if
I
we're
mean, we
unanimous
should
on
all
a
give it our best
decision,
shot. I mean, we've asked 12 people to come here tonight to, submit their applications and put their lives on hold for a little while. Not lives, but a lot of work is involved in this, as all of us know. There's a lot involved. There's a lot involved in sitting up here. You have a lot of homework you have to do. If you're really engaged in this, and we've asked a lot of people to do that. And I think we need to follow through with the process. And if the process doesn't work up here, then we can talk about the election.
But we need to act in good faith, just like the people that have applied.
Yeah, you know.
But you have said that several times. I'm almost to the point where I'm offended thinking you don't think I act in good faith. I am acting in good faith. I'm trying to let the people pick and choose, not us. That is not what we're elected for, to pick and choose everything for them.
But it's what our charter says. I mean, we're going based on our charter.
Exactly.
We're not
We have a
making up the
choice, though.
rules as
We
go
have a
along.
choice.
We have a choice? We're
We
supposed
have-
to follow the charter and select somebody.
We've already broken the charter, have we not, Keith? I mean, did we follow the charter?
No, at this point, you can go in either direction, okay?
Okay.
You can.
But now within the time frame that we would have to select somebody.
That is 100% correct.
Okay.
And from our perspective, we favor filling the seat than not.
So how would you like to move forward, gentlemen?
Andy, you put a process together, right?
Yeah, what we would ask you to do, Mayor and Council, you have some sheets in front of you. We would ask you to list candidates that you'd be willing to entertain further, or applicants, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 5. If you would all complete that list and submit it to Russell, and we can take a brief recess while you do that, then we will be able to announce if there are applicants that have some commonality amongst you that you can then discuss further. So it would shorten the list down from certainly the full pool that's available to you now. If there are candidates that have widespread support amongst you, it would allow you to tailor your discussion to those particular applicants.
Okay, so let me jump back in here after that explanation. So your united front is not a united front because Dee has clearly explained her position on where she'd like to see it go. So do we want to take the exercise if that's her position?
Based on what you're saying, then we should send all these people home.
No, they're gonna.
I would like to apologize because he's really making me out like the bad guy, and I'm trying to give the power back to the people. We are not the power. We are elected here to sit and make some decisions. A person that sits up here is elected by the people. They're chosen by the public. I'm not the public anymore. I'm trying to do what's right. So please, I would appreciate it if you would not make me out like I'm some, horrible person that can't make a decision. I can make a lot of decisions. And transparency is something you need to be very careful about. This also can come back. I mean, what do you want? What is it you're looking for, Bob? That's the best way I know how to tell you. What is it you're looking for? I'm going to stand my ground. I want to see an election in March.
What am I looking for?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking to appoint somebody this evening.
Why don't we
Hold up, please. Let me let Gary have the floor. Go ahead.
why don't we move forward with the process and then see where that gets us? I mean, we're here to make a selection. If we can't make the selection, then we know what Plan B is. But let's start with Plan A that we've started out with, and then move forward from there. Why doesn't everybody pick their top 3, and we'll see, or 4, or whatever number we pick here, and then we'll see, let Andy determine, who the top 1 or 2 are, or something to that effect. We're in new territory here. I get that.
Well, it's all new ground. I went along with the comment from the last meeting about being united front, whether I agreed with it or not. Sounded good. But here we are, and it's not a real good idea anymore, is it?
Well, I don't see it's a bad idea.
Well, we have the ability with 3 out of 4 to make the call. Let's make that clear. 3 of us can make that call. You, the 2 of you, asked us to be united front.
That wasn't my idea. I
Okay,
like the idea.
Gary's
I think
idea,
yes.
we all went along with
I
it.
think we had a consensus.
We did. So here we are. We had the consensus we made from before. We have one of us who has a position that she's basically not going to pick anyone because she wants it to go to a vote. And I don't know why we're not respecting that, considering we said you wanted to be a united front.
Well, let me ask, I don't know if I should ask a question to Dee or to Doug. Dee, are you going to abstain from voting?
I can't.
No, I mean from picking, I'm not.
From picking, sorry.
From picking a candidate. Doug just made the comment that you're not going to do it. And I don't know, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. And I don't think Doug does either, but.
Why can't my vote be just to let it go to the election? I mean, we're only talking a few months away. It's not like it's forever. And if the candidates are sincere and they really think they can do the best job.
Okay, but I'm going to play devil's advocate with this.
Okay.
All right, that kind of flies in the face of where you just said the 5-0 is crippling us.
Yes.
You know,
it-
in a major
it is.
league way.
I
So,
get it.
You know,
I get it.
And this is strictly
I
from
get
the
it.
devil's advocate because, you know, I'm a big supporter of the 5-0 vote. I think that is one of the best pieces of legislation we've passed in decades.
Well, that's an opinion. I happen to think it's not. I think it's bad for the norm. For this,
It hasn't
maybe
it
you're
hasn't
right.
proven to be at this point, but I think we should.
I'm
move
not going to
forward.
vote no or go against somebody just because I had a thing that I supported. Because if it is the best thing for the town, whether I like it or not, and it benefits the people, I'm going to vote yes for it. I'm going to vote for it.
Okay,
You know,
we're
it's
getting
not
a
like-
little we're getting a little sidetracked here. Why don't we pick our top 4 candidates and let Andy collect the paper and we'll weigh them and then talk about it after that.
Come on up, might as well.
John Eastman, just appoint an interim until the election, based on your, and then once we have the election, the elected person takes over. It's a simple solution, it's a compromise, and I don't see any reason why not.
Keith, what's your thoughts?
I only got the legal.
John asked me if he could do this a minute ago, and I said yes, he could suggest it. I suggested it to some of you would ask. There's nothing that would preclude that. You're the council. You can choose to do whatever you wish at this point.
So let me just make a comment about that route. If we appointed somebody this evening, they then would have to run again in March, and then they'd have to run again in November.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah. Normally, we get 10 people. We've never had 10 people for a seat before. So I think that's a lot to impose on somebody, that's all. My personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm kind of scratching my head on that one. It seems like a lot of work for.
A low-paying job.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hold
yeah.
up 1 second, hold up. I got 2 other people want to say something. Go ahead.
Let's put an end to this. Steve, would you do it? It doesn't matter. If you're open, if you're going to appoint somebody, why don't you put somebody in there that's been elected before, again and again and again, temporarily, until they change?
They have to live in the district.
Yeah.
He's already registered to run against me.
Stop there.
We're way out of public comment.
Go ahead. I know
You know,
we
a lot,
have,
a lot of these folks, you know, have, like you guys have said, spent a lot of time preparing for this day. And I understand, you know, this is a very difficult decision.
Quiet, please.
And my thought would be is to help maybe streamline this process. What if each of you selected 3 people from that list, submitted it to Andy, and commit to those 3 if there was consensus among you guys that you would all agree to one of those folks on that list, meaning that you pick 3 people, you pick 3 people, you pick 3 people, and you pick 3 people, write it down, and then if you narrow it down and one of those people is the one that there was a consensus on, you would agree to it. And there's got to be at least 3 of the 12 or 11 that are good candidates that are going to be able to help our town in this capacity. That would be my thought.
Thank you.
Okay, so where are we?
At the polls.
Does everybody want to pick what Jason has suggested and I talked about earlier? Does everybody want to pick their top three, 1, 2, 3, and go from there? Hand them into Andy or Keith?
All right,
for me.
so go ahead.
That works for me. I mean, I want to pick somebody.
All right, everybody pick.
All right, so we want to take a 5 or 10-minute break?
Yes.
All right, so let's take 10 minutes, and you all can visit, socialize, or whatever, and we'll see what we're going to do.
Keith, you got something to say?
No, if you all are submitting, you submit, then break.
I didn't want to. I feel like my hand's being forced right now.
You do not have to submit.
Okay.
All for being patient and socializing amongst yourselves. It's always nice to see. So the neighborly thing is a great thing, and we appreciate you all coming out and participating. So
Could I make
you
a
want to
comment?
step in, Dee? Go right ahead.
I'd just like to make it perfectly clear on my decision. I still support my decision, and I feel it should have gone to the people to decide.
But let's wait and see. What Andy does.
We're all elected officials. However, if they can come to an agreement, I just want you all to know that I am a team player. No matter what anybody thinks, I am a team player. I care so deeply about this town. It isn't even funny. And I fought many years prior to it, before we became a town. It didn't matter if we were a town or not. I just loved the people and loved the area and wanted to keep it that way. But I will let you know, if they can come to an agreement, I will support my team up here in their decision. And that's what I wanted to let you know.
All right, Mr. Burns, I think you're up to bat.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You all had a lot of very, very capable candidates who are looking to serve this town. And I know whatever choice you make, I think would have been a very good choice to serve the town. However, I do have tally sheets listing 3 of the applicants from 3 of you. There is one name that's on all 3 of those sheets. There's only one name that's on all 3 of those sheets, and that would be Delsa Amundsen.
Wow.
Doug and I started a conversation, and I realized we really needed to say this in public. I want to clarify something. I think your mic is off. Sorry. I want to clarify. We are appointing through next November, okay? We're not appointing for an interim election. It's through next November. Okay, good. Want to make sure we're all on the same page. I make a motion then to appoint Delsa to the town council.
I'll second it. Well, let me clarify. Dee, you're on board, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to make a speech?
Congratulations.
We have to vote first, but you
Congratulations.
Well, let's have the vote.
Yeah, let's call the vote.
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jablonski,
You betcha.
Mayor McKay.
Amen. Yes.
Vote is affirmed, 4-0.
All right, Delsa, before you say anything, you got to tell us who all the board members, the council members were on the first election out.
Yeah, no.
What are their names?
You don't get to do that.
You've been here for all of it.
You've been
so-
here for all of it.
I don't remember.
Oh, my gosh.
When I go home, am I bigger boss than my husband?
Yes.
I am?
Even if you hadn't gotten elected.
That's the right answer.
Oh, thank you very much, you guys. You know me, I'm never speaking.
All right, so I have a question.
Sir.
Do next meeting we swear her in, or what do we do?
Yeah, Mayor.
Yes.
21st.
First of all, congratulations, Ms. Amundson. We look forward to working with you. On behalf of the entire staff, we will certainly bring you up to speed and get you where you need to be as quickly as we can. Our next council meeting is a week from tonight at 7 p.m. We'd like to have you here at 6:30 to have you officially sworn in as our newest council member.
Oh, Matthew's going to be so excited.
Listen, my youngest son, both my boys are fired. Oh,
You got to get used to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, grab it, take it out of there if you like.
oh God. All right, then what?
Talk.
Speak into
Talk.
it. Is the red light on?
It should be on.
Is it on?
Yes.
Thank you, Gay. My youngest son is a training lieutenant at Southwest Ranches at the fire department. And I have to say that because it was one thing I wanted to say that I forgot to say. So that's it. But thank you very much. I'm excited. It's crazy. Thank you. I was looking for a red light.
See, there's a reason why you left Publix.
Yeah, there is. There is. I thank you very much, really. I look forward to it.
So do we.
And it's family, you know? What we'll
Amen.
do.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Still on. Thank you.
Andy is going to become your new best friend.
Andy will become your new best friend. It's
Motion to adjourn.